Hey, man, it's Dukes and Bell. It's Tuesday as we get ready for another day up at Flowery Branch on Wednesday. We'll get a chance to see what's going on up there. As Ross said yesterday, he is not changing any of the staff at this particular time, which is interesting to us. We'll talk Falcons today. We got a bunch of guests that are going to stop by. Big O, obviously, Day is with us today. Couple of things. Water Boys are going to stop by. Our guys, Trey and B. Rich. You guys know them, culturally connected. And obviously a huge podcast, and they are guys.
They'll have a lot to say today.
I'm sure they will. They're going to join us. We'll talk to Dave Archer on the show as well, analyst for Atlanta Falcons. And Mike, we'll find out what Archer's thinking about this last game, but more importantly, where we go with 5 games remaining on the season. We're going to have our man Connor Riley as well, talking dogs as we get ready for the SEC championship game. This has a big feel, man. I'll tell you guys a quick story, and I'll expound on this more today, but we're traveling tomorrow. I'm actually going on vacation. So we dropped the dogs off, which is a whole nother story, Mike. I got to tell you.
Okay.
And the dog trainer that we dropped our dogs off to is a huge dog fan. And today I actually have, this shirt on. And she is literally like, are we going to wet the bed on Saturday? Why don't we play well against Alabama? I think dog fans are a little anxious because of what's happened with Alabama with recent games. So we'll get into that, man, with Connor Riley. And last but not least, Mike Lutzenkirchen, friend of the show. His son, obviously, a history with Auburn, won a national championship with Cam Newton. If you don't know the story, it's amazing. But his son passed away, and Mike has used his time and energy to help other young men and kids. So he's going to stop by. It's Giving Day today for all charities around the country and around the world. So he'll expound on that, man. But we got a big show for you. Let's start, though, Mike, with the Hawks. Not the Hawks, the Falcons, should I say. Hawks last night lose a tough one. But the Falcons, and where we're at right now, man, because yesterday, as you said, I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to get upset. I'm not going to get mad, even though it felt like you got upset and you got mad yesterday.
Well, we talked about it. I mean, I said on Twitter, you said on the show yesterday, I mean, I need to hear from the owner. When you're as bad as we are right now, I need to hear from the owner. What are you doing? Give me some information. I mean, I understand that, if you come out and if you fire the head coach right now, to the fans, that signals the season is over. Most Falcon fans have figured out the season was over at the end of the 5-game losing streak. When you look at how good the NFC is, and the playoff hunt is just tough. Our only shot was to win the division, and we blew that. As the Bucs were losing, so did we. So I'd like to hear something from the owner. Give me something. I mean, what are we doing here? There's going to be big changes, valuation, something. Not hearing anything from Arthur Blank. I guess we're going to have to wait till the end of the season because fans are frustrated. I'm curious what the attendance is going to be like at Mercedes-Benz. A lot of folks are just kind of throwing up their hands to speak to us on social media. I've got a bunch of people in section 342 that are just like, I got the tickets. It's not like I'm going to make a fortune trying to move Seattle tickets. I mean, it's not like it's the Steelers coming to town or something. So I don't know. Fans, we're frustrated. The level of incompetence with the special teams keeps cropping up. And to me, it's indicative of all the things that we hear talk about, but nothing changes.
What's your frustration level, Day and O? What's your frustration level with where you guys are at with the Falcons right now? Again, 4-18? 4-18?
Yeah.
Where are you at?
I mean, it's very frustrating, obviously, because if you go back to training camp, there was so much hype about us being this team that was going to have one of the most explosive offenses in the league this year.
What a joke.
It was looking that way throughout camp, and then just we get teased with spurts of it here and there, and then everything just kind of starts, the wheels, as they say, start to fall off the wagon, and then Penix gets hurt, now Drake's hurt, and just we're not getting what we thought we were going to get out of Darnell Mooney. Pitts, I put it in our notes yesterday, he's been reliable. I mean, he's not putting up Pro Bowl numbers, but in moments where you needed him to come up big this year, he's kind of not done that for us. So it's a very frustrating feeling. I told you guys yesterday I was wearing black. I had the tie on. I'm still wearing black today because from an emotional standpoint, with these remaining games, I just want to watch them just to see. I just want to watch. I want to try to almost have to take my emotions out of it because it's just the roller coaster ride that you get on. We touched on the fact that for 5 games now, they've lost 5 games. 1 scored, right? And these were, honestly, guys, if you look at those 5 games, at least 3 of them were games they really, really could have won. You could have won the Bucs game. You could have won the Colts game. Like, you're looking at games that really could have changed the complexion of what this season is right now. And so it's just a roller coaster ride of emotions for me, to where the point where it's like, now I just gonna watch them just to see what they do. Because honestly, if we're honest, we got to start looking towards next season. I know they're not. I know they got to go week to week. But as a fan, you almost got to start putting in your brain, okay, what's next season going to look like? How's this thing going to start off? Is, what if Michael Penix's timeline ends up being on the latter end of that 9 to 12-month window? What are they going to do about the QB1 situation to get the season started? Like, as a fan, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm going to, again, still here to support them this year, but I'm already kind of wondering what things are going to start to look like going into next season because of all the things that we're dealing with now. Tyler Algier, is he going to come back? This guy, everybody, you hear all the national people say it. They were comparing him to what's our guy that came over from San Diego?
That's Michael
Turner.
Yeah.
Saying how he could easily be a number one running back. So is he coming back? What do they do with Kyle Pitts? Do they try to revive him one more time? Like that, I'm already at next year, guys.
And Oren, I mentioned that yesterday. I think he'll be Michael Turner. I think Michael Turner was behind Ladainian and Tomlinson. Mentioned it yesterday on the show. He's a number one. He's already been 1,000-yard rusher. That's why a lot of folks said, "Hey, like, why are you drafting Bijan anyway?" That was the argument back then. But yeah, I think Oren, you jump in. I think he's a luxury item. I think Pitts is a luxury item. Knowing you're going to have to sign Drake and Bijan, Carl also put out there. Maybe a new GM comes in and blows everything up.
Maybe my take is a little bit different, but I don't think I had the level of frustration everybody else does, because coming into the season, everything seemed to be a best case scenario. If this happens, then we're going to be great. If this happens, then we're going to be great. If this happens, then we're going to be great. And I guess along the lines of maybe game 6 or 7 of the season, it realized that maybe that wasn't going to happen. That maybe Michael Penix wasn't going to take that next step to becoming the quarterback, that one quarterback away that we needed to be for this to be a Super Bowl contender. That defense was going to be great. The defense is going to get sacks, but maybe it wasn't going to be what we needed to get to that next point. So everything we heard in camp was this team could be great if ... this happened. This team could be really good if ... this happened.
Yeah.
As we've gone through the first part of the season, we are where we are right now. But how we've gotten there has sort of been those cumulative steps. And at no point during the season did I think that, like, all right, well, maybe all of this is going to come together. The first couple of games is, all right, maybe we can get by with just this being this being the case, or the best case scenario. But there hasn't been a point where everything is sort of lined up to be like, all right, we envision it being this way in camp. We envision the passing game being this way. We envision the running game being this way. We envision the team's health being this way. The depth is this way. Defense being this way. Secondary, like it hasn't all lined up. And there hasn't been one thing that has stood out enough that's been able to carry and make up for the deficits that all of the other inconsistencies and things that are lacking can bring. So my frustration right now isn't as high, because I'm at that point where this is expected. Like, if you don't do those things, if those things don't come together, like, we weren't this glorious football team or this all-time football team coming into camp. No, it was a whole bunch of what ifs.
Yeah, a lot of promise.
Then you are right now. So
it was a lot of promise. It's Dukes and Bell, guys. Join us at 2:00 today. We got a big show, lots of guests to stop by, a variety of conversation to get to. This is our behind-the-scenes show, so we appreciate you checking it out. However you're doing that, Twitch, Insta, all the different socials. I'll say this. There are a lot of people, you know who I'm talking to, that just want to bitch. And when we lost the first game, it was easy for people to jump on that bandwagon and just go, this is going to be a disaster. I, on the other hand, understand, and I think Mike does, and and Day. Guys, sometimes this thing takes time. Teams don't just mesh in week 1. Matter of fact, the year we go to Super Bowl, Mike, we lost to Tampa Bay, right? We lost the game, and everybody lost their crap, and we end up going to. So it takes time. I was willing, and I understand everything you're saying, and I agree with you. The what ifs and the promises, the promise of what could happen. But what happened along the way was, as we wanted to give them the leeway to mesh and mold themselves as a team, this shit got worse. Special teams got worse. Kicking game got worse. Quarterback play got worse. Offense got worse. Like, that's what happened, instead of it taking the other route. So it became very easy for all of you, and including us at that point, to say, what the hell's going on? Why are we so bad? But early in the season, I still had hope. I still had optimism that this thing was going to turn and that Raw was going to be able to turn it around. Now, at this point in the season, Mike, what is this? Week, 12, 13,
We're going
14?
into week 14 now, yeah.
We are what we are. And now there is no optimism. And that is why you feel the way you do, because that is gone. We still had that in week 5. It was like, okay, this could possibly still turn the way we hope. That's gone. And that's why I asked the question about where the frustration level is, because for me, it was here and then it just slowly escalated as this season has played out. I was never here to start the season. Many of you, we lost to Tampa, you're like, yeah, the season's over.
Throw it out, yeah.
Coaching, execution, penalties, bad decision-making has led us here. It's not as if we had to be here. So I'm curious where you guys are at. It's something we'll discuss today on the show. Go ahead, Mike.
No, just real quick to wrap. Vegas had us, it depends on the house, but the gambling houses had us at 7.5 or 8 for our win total preseason.
Yep.
The best win total was 8 for the Falcons. I think you and I said 10 before week 1 because I thought, look, Penix was going to take his lumps. We all knew that. A rookie, you've seen it with all the rookie class from that same year in 24. But we figured we got a strong enough deal. Look, the defense has come on. Problem is we don't get stops at the end of the game. We said it yesterday. This team doesn't play for 4 quarters. Special teams has been a disaster the entire season. We just saw Younghoe Koo do something I've never seen before last night. The one decision we made that worked was getting his ass off this roster. If you didn't see it last night, we'll talk about it. We've got the audio of Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, and Danny DeVito watching this happen live on Monday Night Football. But yeah, I mean, Younghoe Koo did something we've never seen before in the history of the NFL. Literally the Charlie Brown and Lucy in pro football. But no, to me, just to double down with Oren, there were expectations. Look, Terry Fontenot nobody in that organization said we're not making the playoffs. We're going to make it 8 years in a row not making the playoffs. Raheem Morris was tasked with getting this team off a 6-3 start last year. If we were a team that never had any hope last year, that's different. But this team showed you that they had a pulse last year. We thought we were going to build on it. And it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Look at how the Carolina Panthers have turned it around. Look at what the Bears are doing. Liam Cohn in Jacksonville has got things cooking. So look at the Giants. All those years they won Super Bowls. They might be hot garbage through Thanksgiving, and they get hot at the right time. And that's what you're seeing around the league. And we're not. We went the other way. We lost 5 games in a row, and that's what the season got lost. And if I own this team, everybody gets fired. It's a complete reset. But if I'm Arthur Blank, I agree with Carl. If my new general manager comes in, you're not trading Bijan and Drake. We got some good young core nucleus pieces. Get a coach in here who can figure it out and get us over the finish line.
Fix what's wrong. All right, guys, let's shift gears and talk about the big news tonight, and that's going to be the college football playoff rankings. I think A&M should be completely out of the playoff.
You're too close to it.
We got
to make room for Texas. Got to make room for Texas somehow.
One game to win. They should have won the game. They had one game to win. But seriously, I think the question for me, guys, you tell me what you think. Ole Miss and what the committee thinks with the coaching change. Texas A&M losing to Texas. How far do they drop with all the teams pretty much handling business? And then what do they think about Notre Dame? Where's Notre Dame in this? That's what I'm looking at as I get ready for tonight. And I think we could have a few surprises, Mike. Again, remember, the conference championship games could play out and could still affect the final rankings. So what we see tonight only gets us to this weekend. And then next week is like, okay, that's the final rankings. This is what we got. What do you think, Mike?
Well, I'd be curious. The big one now is Ole Miss, because if there is a precedent, remember, these are different committee members, and year to year, there's a little lack of consistency. The strength of schedule is something you and I've talked about. It doesn't seem to matter to these guys like it should to us. But is Ole Miss going to be punished for the sins of Lane Kiffin splitting the LSU the way Florida State was? Because now the expectation, Florida State without Jordan Travis isn't the same team, even though they finished out beating Florida, winning the ACC championship game. Still not a team you felt could go the distance against the elites. What's Ole Miss without Lane Kiffin calling the plays? Are the players, as you said, Carl, going to check out and already think about when they move to LSU? How is that going to play? So are they going to get dumped out because all of a sudden Ole Miss doesn't make for good television without Lane Kiffin?
Yeah. Day-Day?
Yeah, the big thing I was wondering after I looked at, once the AP came out, which currently right now Ole Miss is ahead of Texas A&M. Ole Miss at 6 and Texas A&M at 7. So with the Lane Kiffin departure, one of the things I kind of wondered is, does Texas A&M end up flipping and getting ahead of Ole Miss and benefiting from the fact that the committee may view Ole Miss, to Mike's point, maybe not going to be what they are had Lane Kiffin stayed around. So it's going to be interesting to see how A&M, if they actually indeed kind of benefit from all this Lane Kiffin stuff.
Yeah. And by the way, Georgia guys with the one loss, let's be clear, even if they lose to Bama on Saturday, they're still in. Okay.
Bama on the other end, though. Bama loses.
Right.
Yeah, Bama.
Just a little hairy.
There you go. Yeah. So, I mean, let's be clear. Georgia fans, they're going to be fine. You want to beat Alabama. You want to win another SEC championship game. But for whatever reason, if it doesn't happen, Georgia's going to be fine. Let me tell you this, too. Both of these Big Ten teams, Ohio State and Indiana, are both in. It doesn't matter who wins the Big Ten championship because it's only going to be one loss for that team. And if it's Indiana, everybody goes, oh, see, they're not that good. They're still getting in. So, and they'll be a top 4 team. I still believe that at 12.
You think they'll be top 4 or just to be a home game? Because they love Texas Tech. That's the thing. If
they do love Texas Tech.
I just wonder because strength of schedule, I mean, that's where strength of schedule should be the deciding factor on that.
Tech has to beat BYU again. And this is the thing, right? They play the round robin in the Big 12. If they don't beat BYU, Texas Tech still gets in at 11-2, but they're not a top 4 team. And I think a 12-1 Indiana losing to the number 1 team in the country trumps what Texas Tech is going to do.
Especially if your ACC champion ends up being Duke. You're not going to give a 7-5 Duke team, or at that point 8-5 Duke team a first round bye.
Yeah, Duke, man, that's crazy.
The interesting thing is going to be what happens with, because you mentioned them earlier, not just Notre Dame, but what happens with Miami.
Well, those two are tied, I think. Whatever they think of Notre Dame is going to affect where Miami is. That's what I believe.
Notre Dame, their 2 losses this year to Texas A&M and Miami, those aren't bad losses, but those are still losses. And Miami has the head-to-head matchup over Notre Dame right now. So
for sure,
there's going to be one fan base tonight that's not going to be thrilled. One fan base is ranked above the other, but in all honesty, I gotta think that as down as Miami's been talked about, I think they have more of a valid case with that head-to-head win over Notre Dame.
That's got to count for something.
In the play. They do.
It's got to count for something.
Now the ACC or the Miami AD he's calling for the ACC to reevaluate their tiebreaker rules.
Yes, we talked about it yesterday.
But you went to the 5th.
They went to the 5th option on this, or the 5th, I guess, at all the different rules. They got down to number 5, which was the winning percentage of the opponents. How about when everybody's tied, go with the highest ranked team? I mean, let's talk about somebody. I'd love to know who the nerd was. Carl, who came up with that for the ACC. I mean, I think you got to switch on the fly. Maybe we've amended the rules. The highest ranked team in the college football playoff ranking goes. Done.
All right, man. We got to run. Hawks lose last night, but promising. We got a really good team, guys. I think they're going to be fine once Trey gets back.
That was on a back-to-back night too, as you mentioned, Carl. Double overtime.
They lose to the Pistons. Cade Cunningham is Cade Cunningham. Just recognize he's a star in this league. And, I think our guys, our legs were a little tired. But we'll talk about that. Again, Waterboy stopping by. Arch, as well as Connor Riley and our man Mike Lutzenkirk to get you caught up on Giving Tuesday, man, which is a big day with charity. So that's going to be a lot of fun today. And we'll talk to him as well about this Auburn hire. He's very connected there, and we'll get his thoughts on this.
Auburn fans,
you said it. They've gone through the coaching carousel.
Right. Much more welcoming to their new coach than the Florida Gator fans are.
And
we'll talk about the opening press conference for, I got to be honest, it was not great down in Gainesville. We'll explain.
All right, man. And Lane Kiffin, we got to mention, we'll play some of this for you. He said he did not ask his agent about the money. Mike mentioned it at the end of the show yesterday, saying that the only thing he cared about was the money that was going to be available for
players,
that he wanted to get. We'll digest that as well, man. So make sure you tune in 2:00 right here on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. All right, fellas, we'll talk to you guys.